We're now joined by Hank Sherman of Sherman and, of course, Merciful Fate. How are you today?
I'm really good.
Well,
Thank you.
We're excited to talk to you. It's an excellent new album, Satan's Tomb. We're looking forward to spreading the word and seeing some great reaction to your music.
Yeah, us too, for sure.
Fantastic. Take us back, to the beginning. I know, you're from Denmark and you grew up in Copenhagen and, you got involved in the punk rock scene. Tell us about the excitement of getting into music early on and, who were some of the artists that excited you to, go to the clubs and check out the music and start playing yourself?
Yeah, the reason why I'm sitting here talking with you today is for sure Ace Frehley of Kiss. When I went to school, to high school, in the middle of that process, I got into the band Kiss. Wow, I was fascinated, and I was totally into Ace Frehley. His like posing and really cool albums. I loved the albums from the early ones though, and.
Yes.
So the first chance I had, I saved some money. That was in March 1977. I went out to this shopping mall. There was a guitar store, and I bought this Japanese Black Les Paul copy for about $100, equivalent today. And and there I was, ready to be a musician. And of course, it was, very difficult for me to play anything. And I think it took me about 2 or 3 months to even get the guitar tuned right. There was this girl from school that actually know how to tune a guitar. So that was some very hilarious moments. But anyway, that's how I started. Totally a Kiss head at that time. And then that work, I worked my way into the punk rock scene because that had a big movement from '76 until early '80s. And playing only being able to play a few chords, that came natural to start playing punk rock. And so that's why I also started with Ramones, as cool inspirations, and Sex Pistols and all those iconic bands today.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. And of course, the energy was there and you had the passion. Tell us about starting to get into metal, because I know, with, of course, Judas Priest and Sabbath and UFO, all the great bands you were hearing. Talk about your transition to getting into more of the heavy stuff.
Yeah, even though we had all these 70s like Kiss, Stars, Angel, all these American bands there, we were also from our school time, brought up on Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep, Slade, Sweet. That was the core of what we listened to. And of course, like you mentioned, UFO, Scorpions. And then, when I got hooked up to Judas Priest, some things say, wow, this is, wild. And mainly because of the song structures, and of course because of Rob Halford, the high screams and the cool, the riffing was different than the more old school 70s kind of thing. So that really got me hooked, and that was where the transition started, to stray away from the traditional rock, punk rock and stuff, and. Then I saw a few concerts here in Copenhagen with AC/DC, Black Sabbath, and then suddenly, AC/DC, kind of also got me a good kick there. So that was, and then I knew, that was my direction. That was my alley, heavy metal, based on, Judas Priest, Uriah Heep, song structures, and the heaviness of Black Sabbath. That was my direction. That's what I loved. And that was what I wanted to do myself. And that ended up in the band Merciful Fate, that we had a different, other projects. But, it ended up with Merciful Fate in March 1981.
Yes. Well, talk about meeting, King Diamond and what your shared passion was, and talk about the early creative process of you guys writing the early album and finding your own style.
Yeah, we had, me and Michael was already in this band called Brats, and we were looking for a new singer. and we had heard about this crazy guy, King Diamond, playing in a band called Black Rose. So we all went to the concert hall or to the club to see this band. And after the concert, we had a talk with King, and we had a beer at a nearby pub, and we're talking about him joining Brad. And actually that's what he did. And then we started to rehearse a lot. Back in those days, we rehearsed all the time, and that's where we created the songs. Mostly I did all the music back then, and then we will rehearse them, with everyone in the rehearsal room, and that's where we start. King already had the high screams, and he is a big Ian Gillan fan, and David Byron fan, and Alice Cooper fan, and so that's kind of his background, his core inspiration. And then when we had some transitions before it really got to MERCYFUL Fate, and when we were in MERCYFUL Fate, the early days, we rehearsed 6 days a week, and that's where all the songs were created. We rehearsed, and on everything, and I just kept spitting out songs and ideas and riffs. So that was we were just on fire back then.
Sure. So you constantly rehearsed. You would always come up with the musical tracks, and then King would write the lyrics and sing after you made the track.
Yeah, that's how it happened. So when the other guys were rehearsing the music itself, King might be sitting in a corner getting ideas for the lyrics, and get ideas while we were rehearsing the song itself, and then he would join on on the vocals and stuff. So that was really exciting times, something that I miss a lot today, because now it's more like via file transfers on the internet, and Skype, as we're doing here. And with Dennis Sherman, we are because everyone is in different countries, so we have to use all these modern technologies to be in direct contact.
Yeah, it helps these days to connect, but there's nothing like being in that same room,
No,
working on the songs.
That's of course, the magic is certainly gets, is getting born in a rehearsal room. I mean, there's so much, the way you play a riff, 200 times, rehearsing it, and you have the human touch. I mean, when we are recording albums now, we have 30 years of experience recording, and we exactly know when it sounds too, if we're using a click track, we are very aware that, when it doesn't sound good and when it sounds good. So that is what we are bringing, everyone's experience. We know how to handle it, even though we are recording in separate studios. Doesn't matter. We can make it work.
Sure. Well, you had a very prolific run, of course, with songs like Evil and Satan's Fall and Black Funeral and Curse of the Pharaohs, and obviously you influenced great bands like Metallica, who have played your music, and you guys have collaborated a few times over the years. I know Lars, of course, being from Denmark, is one of your biggest fans, and obviously the band carries your torch for your past. What was it like collaborating with Metallica and seeing what their exposure has done for your music?
Yeah, the first the first meeting, real meeting, was back in 1983, maybe, when they did Ride the Lightning. Maybe it was 84, can't remember, either or. But so we had our rehearsal rooms just next to the studio where they did record Ride the Lightning. So they came to the rehearsal room that was just the building next door, and they even borrowed a few Marshall amps for the recording, since the own kind of went off. And we went to the pubs in Copenhagen and had a lot of fun. Got drunk and the usual stuff you do when you are in the middle of your 20s. And then later on in our career, when MERCYFUL Fate get back together for the second time, Lars joined on our first album of the 90s, In the Shadows, and he flew in from Mexico and was so we had a full day of jamming in the studio. That was really fun, and I know it was filmed by himself and King. They have tapes there, but I don't think they will release it though. But so. And then from there, we got another, helping hand. We were invited to play with the Metallica on a festival in Copenhagen with Suicidal Tendencies and some other famous band at that time. And then that was in 93. And then in 97, 99, we were invited to join the European tour. And we're playing along with Metallica on about maybe 8 or 10 big festivals. And then they invited us to join on their Guitar Hero edition, Metallica Guitar Hero edition, where we did 2 songs for them that went on that game there. And then we were once again invited in 2011 for Metallica's 30 years anniversary, flying all of the original MERCYFUL FATE members into San Francisco, and were playing like 12 minutes on stage along with the guys from Metallica. So we have been hooking up a lot of times, and when we have been touring in the States in the 90s, they would come out to the show, have a beer too, and talk good times.
Yeah, talk about that 30th anniversary show. What was the highlights for you?
First of all, there was, we had a little before going on stage room, where we were kind of, getting ready to go on stage, and suddenly there was Lou Reed sitting there was Marianne Faith, I think it was, and, that was pretty weird. They were sitting chatting like two old people. I think they were, at that point, both 70 or something like that, and that was a hilarious moment, so I actually took a picture without asking, because it was a historic, now Lou Reed is dead and all that, but so that was pretty bizarre, sitting, these 2 iconic people just sitting and talking, like the good old wild days from the 70s likely, and while MERCYFUL FATE was ready to go on stage. That was pretty cool, but also got to meet all the other cool guys. There were so many musicians that we have been meeting over, from the beginning of the 80s all the way up till now. So that was really like a remarkable, event, I would say.
Sure. And I know you had also formed the band Demonica. What was your feeling at that point, and what's your greatest memory of that project?
Yeah. At some point, I was thinking, okay, what are you going to do now? And I had this friend who was pushing me, say, hey, come on, let's do a band. And he kept for years saying that, until I caved and say, okay, let's fucking do it. Mm-hmm. And since I'm pretty aggressive guitar player, so the challenge here was to take it up a few notch in order to go in a more freshy direction, as much as I could, because I'm more traditional classic metal, 70s inspired, early 80s inspired guy. So, but taking it a step further was a nice challenge. So I had to show my best and everything I had in me in order to create these 10 songs, I think there is. So, and we got a contract in Europe and United States, and we played five shows total maybe. And the American record label Giddy Up went bankrupt or something like that. So, basically everything faded out from that point. And then we were supposed to go on a European tour that was canceled due to some internal thing, with the drummer or whatnot. I'm not quite sure what happened, but so unfortunately that kind of faded out. But we still have a cool record recorded, an album that I'm pretty proud of, because that was my maximum put into that style there.
Sure, and obviously you had the opportunity to tour with Volbeat on their 2012 U.S. and World Tour. Talk about how that collaboration came about, and what the highlights of that tour was for you.
Yeah, Michael Paulson, the leader of Volbeat, called me up. I was actually, funny situation. I was on a beach in Copenhagen, north of Copenhagen, on a beach, looking over the ocean and saying, okay, what am I going to do now? That was after Demonica kind of broke up or faded out. So I was thinking, okay, Hank, what is the next thing for you to do in life regarding music? And then, while almost thinking that, he called me up and asked me if I was interested to join Volbeat for all the 2012 shows I had. And instantly, as I was a little like with my guards on, and say, wow, are you sure that would fit with me in it and stuff like that? So, and I say, okay, Michael, give me a week to think about it. I had to to think about this one. And it only took me a few days, and I could see, like, wow, this is like an opportunity for me. First of all, getting back to heavy touring, to big arenas, to big shows and all that, and also to be able to to keep me going as a musician. And
Yes.
The only difference with this joining Volbeat was that I was basically a hired gun, right? I have never been that in my life. I have always been the one who initiated to form a band, and kind of being the leader in terms of the music and all that. But suddenly I was just a hired musician, even though I was part of Volbeat. But I had tremendous good time on that tour. That was really fun, really nice guys, and they have a huge success. And it was fun because it's blend of rock and roll, heavy metal, thrash metal, ballads, rockabilly. I mean, it's really fun to play.
Fantastic. Well, this brings us to the Dinner Sherman album. Again, Satan's Tomb is the title. Very excited about this collaboration. Obviously, you go way back with Michael. Talk about your decision to team up and record the new album.
Yeah, me and Michael were we were very aware that Melissa were about to have 30 years anniversary, and since we figured out that no one would celebrate it or do anything in terms because of that, then me and Michael took matters into our own hands here, and got the idea of recording snippets from all the songs for that album, and then release it via our YouTube channel, in order to celebrate ourselves and honor the album, and also for all the fans that has been following us for 30 years or more. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of success with that. We have a lot of views and a lot of good feedback, and that led us to, of course, do it for Don't Break Those as well. And in that process, between those two recordings of Melissa and Don't Break Those, the natural step was, of course, to initiate, kind of to go back together, join forces. Hey Michael, let's do a band. I mean, this feels good. I think the time is right now. We are in good balance. We are very focused. We know what we want. It's better to be together than separate as musicians. So we just took what was needed in order to to go to the next level. We got a logo made. We decided for the Dinner Sherman name rather than a heavy metal brand, Hellfire, whatnot. So and then we took it from there. And then within 2 weeks after the announcement, an introduction of the logo, we had already Sean Peck there right away, without us even think too much into vocalist, because that's the most important place in a rock band. I mean, the vocalist is like number one, right? So So before we even, were thinking too much into names, Sean were hitting us up, and that really was a perfect fit, I would say.
Fantastic. What tracks stand out the most to you on the album, and if there's any stories, behind the writing or the message behind them?
Yeah, so I think that, Satan's Tomb, the title track, seems to have all the elements that me and Michael, stands for, the melodic intro solos, scene-based, and, we have the guitar duels in the middle, and, we have some melody in the vocals, we have, some good C parts, and, it's a good mainstream, not mainstream, but, traditional, heavy metal song. And also the history that goes to that song was I was, asked for a famous U.S. band to write a song for them in the style of Merciful Fate that they want to use for whatever, and so that's what I did. And when it was time for me to deliver my result, then suddenly they didn't respond to emails, they didn't, took phone or anything. So. And that was because they had internal problems and stuff. But anyway, so when we started this project, Hank Sherman, then I already had one song. I just need to do some slight modification here and there. And I sent that song off to Sean, and 2 days later, it was the song that became Satan's Tomb. And so that was like, a good start. I mean, we had a little head start there. The song was almost already done. And Sean is really like fast at working with vocal ideas, and then I was straight into the second song, the War Witch, and then after that was completed, I stepped up a little, say, okay, now we wanted to go a little, add more layers to the songs. We wanted to have 2 songs also that shows what is also our specialty. I mean, creating like, more like, different parts, tempo changes, more layers, crazy stuff. So and that style is what we are bringing with us from the, we have all the songwriting and all the core inspiration. That's what we are bringing, 3 decades later. That's what we are showing here. So that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that it sounds like it does, but hopefully people think it's cool.
Yeah, well, it's a great sound, and I know you've got a great band around it. Are there any plans for some live shows?
That's what we are working at right now. There's nothing solid confirmed, but we have a lot of offers floating around. It's just a matter of some logistics, because we have Sean in San Diego, bass players in Colorado. So we have to figure out where to start, and also, festival versus club shows, and, United States versus Europe, and so that's, but hopefully we will be able to announce something, in the near future, because I think it's very important for us to go out and show we are a band, and also to build up this, as a solid band people can trust, and we have already like 6 songs into the full-length album done, and only need 3 or 4 more songs, and it's completed.
Fantastic. Well, obviously your music and Merciful Fate has been a great influence not only on bands like Slayer and Metallica, but, inspired a lot of black metal and a lot of, heavy bands. What is your feeling as far as the state, of the industry, or what your influence has created?
I can only, I'm like humble about it, and of course grateful, and I think it's really cool if other bands or really famous band, when they were younger, got inspired from our songwriting, or concerts, that made them change their style, or maybe got ideas for one of their songs, and maybe a musician hears Satan's Fall and say, wow, cool, I want to play guitar myself. And so that's cool, because that's how I started anyway, like we talked about with Ace Frehley. So that's cool to know. I mean, and like you mentioned, we have Metallica, Slayer. There's a lot of people who, the 5, 6, 7 years younger bands out there than ourselves. They really have been been enjoying Merciful Fate a lot, and cite them as one of the inspirations. And that's cool to hear. Being in the band is like, it's a difficult thing to. It's not like I'm saying, wow, cool. Of course we knew that. I mean, it's just like we are just thankful for it, and grateful that we had an impact on so many people in a positive way.
Sure, you can never predict as you're making music, what people's reaction, or certainly the the longevity would be.
That's only like 30 years and 20 years later. So, even if you talk to, let's say, Robert Plant, he has been asking that, tons of times, there's so many bands and musicians inspired by Led Zeppelin, but I mean, he's also very humble, say, yeah, I mean, that's cool, but I was inspired by Chuck Berry or whatever he was inspired by. So I mean, he's at that point, we are just almost a musician that starts from scratch, and by being inspired by some other musician, and to begin with, you kind of want to imitate your idols, and then at the same time play your own style. So it is like a balance between trying to imitate and then find your own style until you kind of have your totally own style. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And all that you've seen and been through, what advice do you give to the young guitarists or young bands coming up today? What do they need to focus on?
Yeah, first they need to focus on be able to master the instrument, right? So the good things, from when I started until now, you have YouTube. So if I want, I actually use that a few times if needed, say, okay, how the fuck do I get my picking technique to be better? And then I found this guy on the YouTube, and actually see, wow, of course, that's fucking how they do it. And, small eye openers, I would certainly, say, go to YouTube, find some cool teachers, and then learn the style you really like, and then master the instrument, especially with the picking technique, because that gives you a relaxed feeling when you play. I mean, that you can, master whatever upstrokes, downstrokes, and all that. But, I mean, just go for it. I mean, pick up the instrument, go for it. If you're a composer type, then it's a never-ending story. If you're just in for it for, playing in a band, playing live, that's cool too.
Yeah, and nothing great ever comes easy, and certainly, the great ones took chances. They really went out there and, carved their own identity. So we all start by playing other people's songs, but you have to take chances and be as original as you can be.
Yeah, and that's not really something you're standing in a rehearsal room and say, wow, hey guys, I think we need to be original. Of course, there's bands that sounds more like a copy band of some other band, but a band needs to have some good composers, a good vocalist making good lyrics, and you need to know how to compose a song. I mean, have some experience with it. But on the other hand, I mean, even if you're a lousy songwriter, that could be a style too. Yeah. Your phone, Jay.
We're all good, Hank. Thank you so much for your time. We're so excited to spread the word on the new Satan's Tomb album by Hank Sherman, and can't wait to see you performing live back in LA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. You take care. Thank you for the interview.